Dr. Venture is about to get eaten by a polar bear, but instead he has an hallucination of Sally Impossible, like shining out radiant light, and that would just fit. It would just been absolutely spot on. And we can all just imagine it in our own minds, and yeah, it's really good.
FlynnsArcade.
Hi, this is FlynnsArcade, and this is my video about the Venture Brothers episode, Series 1, Episode 9, I Station Impossible, with reference to this book here. Before I start, please can you do me a favour and like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And now on with the video. I'm going to give a synopsis of the episode. I'm going to talk about any themes that I noticed, any character development that I noticed, any jokes that I particularly enjoyed, and the style of the episode. And finally, I'm going to give it a rating out of 10. In this episode, Dr. Venture, Billy Quizboy and Pete White join a super secret think tank in the North Pole. There they meet the Impossible family, who are a dark parody of the Fantastic Four. Hank becomes a human weapon, and Dr. Venture nearly freezes to death in this episode.
Keep moving. Frostbite setting in. Gonna die. Gonna die. Gonna die. No. Must press on. Oh, great, Venture. Thousands of square miles of empty Arctic wasteland, and you somehow managed to step in the one spot of yellow snow.
But fortunately, Brock's on hand to save the day. As the themes of this episode, it's darker than any of the episodes that have reviewed before it, in my opinion anyway. I think that because it's set on the North Pole and the fact that it includes, a horrible husband.
Gentlemen, allow me to introduce my lovely wife, Sally. Whatever are you doing out of your room during work hours, honey?
It's snowy, it's isolated, and my favourite film's The Shining. And I can't help but see parallels between the behaviour of Jack Torrance and the behaviour of Richard Impossible in this episode. It's pretty dark. Another thing that I've noticed is just the sheer randomness of the Venture Brothers universe. The reason that Hank becomes a human weapon, it's not because the Monarch's got designs on him or because his dad's experiment has gone horribly wrong. It's just a simple chance occurrence that Race Bannon's plane crashes on the Venture compound. And just chance happenings are a real sort of peculiar theme that we sometimes spot in the Ventureverse. As for character development, it's been a very unusual twist to be introduced to a new family. Because the Impossible family, especially like the husband, Richard Impossible, he's horrible. He's just a terrible person. He treats his family really poorly. In fact, more than really poorly. He's awful towards them. And so when we meet him, we're reminded of we learn that in the Ventureverse, some really bad things are possible. It's not just a funny, nice universe, and And so when we see just how badly Richard Impossible behaves, we realise that Dr. Venture, for all his faults, and there are myriad, he isn't that bad. It takes a lot, but we're finally starting to see him as an actual, quite kind-hearted, responsible family man. And that side of things really brought out in this episode because, especially due to the nature of his relationship with Richard Impossible's wife, Sally.
Oh, this feels so good. I haven't laughed like this in years.
We know that Dr. Venture's attracted to women because we see his interaction with Charlene a few episodes back. But he really doesn't like Sally. She makes a pass at him and he repels her quite a bit. In the episodes, a lot of this is blamed on the fact that he gets spooked by her because when she goes invisible, she does look pretty horrific.
Kiss me, Dr. Venture. Kiss me.
But I don't think that's the whole reason for it because Dr. Venture, once he's calmed down, because he was quite shocked when he first saw that, but once he's come to terms with the fact that she goes so strange looking when she's invisible, he could get over that quite easily. I mean, he's seen some pretty, strange things. And she does look very normal and attractive when she's not invisible. So I think he could get over that. So I think that there's something a lot deeper going on here. And I credit him not wanting anything to do with Sally on the fact that, firstly, she's a married woman and he doesn't want to get involved with husband and wife. He doesn't want any part of that, which shows a sort of old school morality. He's also supposed to be there to work on the think tank, and he shows some real responsibility there, which is very admirable. And finally, I think he knows in his heart what Sally Impossible is up to. I mean, she's not into him just because he's Dr. Venture and she thinks he's great. She's into him because she can see that he's a quite clear, escape vessel for her. She wants out of the relationship with her husband, and he just doesn't want to. He doesn't want a part of that.
Well, guess what, Richard? You lose again. I'm with Dr. Venture now.
Excuse me?
So I'm quite impressed by the fact that he showed some real self-respect there, because prior to this, I kind of saw him as quite a desperate person. I mean, the way he kind of approaches Charlene in the club.
He's coming over.
You kind of think, oh yeah, will be nice to any woman, because he's desperate, but actually he isn't. He shows some real self-respect, so fair play to him. Brooke's really impressive in this episode. I love the way he comforts Race Bannon during his last moments on Earth.
Listen, you have to recover the canister.
We have it, Race. Tell me what it is.
I also really like the way he deals with Hank's problem.
Hey, Brock.
Yeah.
How would you do it?
You're asleep. Quick jerk of the neck. Never feel a thing.
You've thought about this.
Yes, I have.
Because he's so calm and collected the whole time. He knows there's a problem. He personally can't solve it, but he just goes through all the steps to sort of, to figure out how to rectify the situation in such, a cool-headed and clear way. It's awesome. I really enjoyed the way the whole family rallies around Hank when Dr. Impossible threatens him.
You kill him.
It's really good. It's just great to see them coming together as a family unit. However, there's Dr. Venture has some pretty rough moments in this episode. We've not really seen his addiction rear its head for quite a while, but it comes back with a vengeance in this episode when he drops the sample on the bathroom floor.
Oh my God. Okay.
It's so gross, and it is like a classic, like rock bottom moment, and I really hope he takes that to heart. Also, his whole relationship with Sally Impossible is caused by the fact that she helps him by giving him her sample.
Oh, I brought you something.
Oh. Is that your,
No, it's your,
So, were it not for his problem with his pills, he would have never made friends with Sally in the first place. So, it's yet another reason why, it certainly makes me wonder about what other problems in his life have been caused by his pills, because we saw him losing his kidneys in the first episode, and so now we're seeing this. It's not a good situation that he's found himself in. As the jokes of in this episode, there's quite Jackson Public wanted to bring in elements of realism, things that would happen into sort of horrific and dramatic situations. And, because you just don't see these types of things on TV very often. And so what he thought was to include this scene with the kids finding Race Bannon's like alien body and his spy equipment, and then start mucking about with them. That would totally happen with feral kids, and it was nice to see something that realistic in this dramatic situation and humour brought out in it. There was also more humour when Ray sadly meets his maker and he evacuates his bowels in the process.
Ew!
I like the scene when Dean and Brock are watching the film about the Goliath serum, and they start to look at Hank and the clock that he's obviously infected by it. It's quite funny the way they handle that.
If you suspect unintentional exposure, watch for the early warning signs. Does the patient look flushed? Does the patient have an abnormally large appetite?
What? Put popcorn on my face?
I'd also quite like the way Hank gets cured of the Goliath serum, in that they don't cure him at all. Like they just create ranch dressing.
You freaking idiots. It didn't work. You people invented Ranch dressing.
But I quite like the way that he just sort of cures himself really quickly, because the Goliath serum wasn't intended for humans. And I just found it quite funny that they didn't need to go all the way to the North Pole. They just hung around with Hanky would have been fine anyway. So like, a lot of Brock's behaviour, it was kind of pointless. Although he did end up rescuing like Dr. Venture by a really like lucky coincidence. So it wasn't a complete waste of time.
Here, put this on.
As to the style of this episode, when Jackson Public wanted to do a Johnny Quest parody, in Johnny Quest they'd do like different scenes for each episode. So they'd have a jungle episode, an oceanic episode, a desert episode, and so on and so forth. So originally this episode was written as a desert episode with Dr. Venture running out, becoming dehydrated in the desert and getting rescued by Brock. But the Doc Hammer and Jackson Public couldn't figure out how to write a desert episode, because they couldn't think about any legitimate reason why Dr. Venture would be in the desert. So they decided to switch it to the North Pole, which I thought worked really well, because just being in an icy location, it's sort of, there's a real sense of isolation that hung over the episode and made it quite creepy. I particularly enjoyed the impossible industry suits that the characters wear. I just think they look really good, and I like the idea of these sort of super science suits that Dr. Impossible's invented, Professor Impossible. But what was quite interesting, I wouldn't have noticed this if I hadn't read the book, is that Marvel villains always wear green or purple. So that's why the Impossibles are all wearing purple, even though at this point Dr. Impossible, Professor Impossible is like, he's ostensibly a good character. He's doing he's on a government contract. He's on the side of the status quo, and he's not a member of the Guild of Calamitous Intent at this point. I don't think he ever becomes one, but he isn't at this point. He's supposed to be a good guy. There's a very sort of clear in his appearance that that person's obviously a supervillain, like just waiting to become a supervillain. And the fact that he's murderous as well, and he treats his family so poorly. He's a bad guy, but he looks like a bad guy too. And I just find that was handled in a really good way. One of the things that I always enjoy about the Venture Brothers, and I really look forward to this happening, is the introduction of licensed popular music into episodes. It's like, we get like the Pulp song Like a Friend, that was brilliant. And then there was the Rosala song, Everybody's Free, also brilliant. In this episode, I learned in the book that when Jackson Public was writing the scene where Dr. Venture's like lost in the icy wilderness, he couldn't stop thinking about the song Sweden by the Divine Comedy. And I'm just going to play a clip for this now. And it fits the scene so perfectly when you listen to it, because it's such a sort of creepy song. You feel cold when you're listening to it. At the time, Jackson Public didn't consider using licensed music on the Venture Brothers, and so he didn't, but now I've learned that, I actually see Sweden as a canonically Venture Brothers pop song. So, and it's a great song anyway. So, please have a listen to it. I listened to it a few times just before making this video, and it really is really good. The idea as well was that for the crescendo of Sweden, which it ends really abruptly, that was what would have been used for the final scene where Dr. Venture is about to get eaten by a polar bear, but instead he has a hallucination of Sally Impossible like shining out radiant light, and that would just fit. It would have just been absolutely spot on. And we can all just imagine it in our own minds, and yeah, it's really good. So I'm going to give this episode an 8 out of 10. It's great in a lot of ways, but the reason why I reduced the score is because I really don't like Professor Impossible. I mean, I know he's supposed to be a bad guy. I just find there's something really disquieting about his presence. He's, it seems strange to say this, because I know he's supposed to be like that, but it's like, I don't like Buzz Manstrong and I don't like Baron Underbite. They're all bad people and they're supposed to be bad people. But what I really like about the Venture Brothers is when you get complex characters, like, so with Dr. Venture, he's kind of a bad guy and he's kind of a good guy. And that's what I really love about it. There's no real black and white morality. It's all like grey and greyer morality. And I just feel that that Professor Impossible, he's just such a hate sink, especially at this stage, because he's just doing all right for himself, treating everyone like crap and, being really successful and getting really top contracts and stuff. I just find it really quite a difficult episode to watch for that reason. I'm just desperate to see him get his comeuppance. And so that reduces the score slightly. I like the fact that, that he is like a supervillain. He doesn't know that he's a supervillain, and that adds a bit of complexity to his character. But at the moment, he's just a horrible person with no redeeming features. So that's why it's the downside of this episode. I know it's supposed to be like that, but it does reduce the score slightly. That's the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Let me know if you've heard the song Sweden before, because I hadn't, and it's really great. If you don't know what to write, please can you just drop me a Go Team Venture, because it really will help the algorithm. And so that's all from me, and I will see you in the next one.